The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
The air is thick with anticipation here in the auditorium of the GEMS Cambridge International School. We of course continue our focus on the Sustainable Development Goals. Welcome to the Nationals of the Great Debaters Contest 2017. My name is Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yumbok. We have Light Academy High School Mombasa going against Mbooni girls. And the motion is, citizen activism is an effective way of influencing change in African governments. Mariam, do you think they have what it takes to tackle this socially conscious motion?
They are the best in their region, so I definitely think they have the chops for this. Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Kwa vilio na huzuni tulinyakuliwa uhuru na mashujaa wa zamani, hawakushtushwa na risasi wala kufungwa gerezani. Nia yao ukombozi, kuvunja pingu za ukoloni. My name is Salima Nano Haga from Mbooni Girls, here to strongly propose the motion that states citizen activism is an effective way of influencing change in African government. Now, when I speak about citizen activism, I mean it is when an individual or a collective activity, including participation in faith groups or neighboring association and even trade unions. In short, active citizens provide vital feedbacks to state decision makers and exert pressure on what they consider as a wrong policy. When I talk about effective way, it is the intended result is achieved. And influencing change, it is the effect that something has on the way someone thinks or behaves. When I talk about an African government, it is simply the system of ruling at a particular African state. But we have different ways in which these leaders attain their leadership. One of them is through inheritance, like King Mswati of Swaziland, and power of the gun, also known as a coup. A good example is Yoweri Museveni of Uganda. Now, when I sing the Imam Kenya by Eric Wainaina, it sends many Kenyans down memory lane. And they remember when the Mau Mau fighters fought for what they believed in. They fought for their land. They fought for justice. And truth be told, justice did prevail simply because ever since I was born in 1999, but I was told that in 1963 to 2017, we've only had Kenyan leaders lead us. Now, our motion entails on promoting and enforcing non-discriminatory laws and policies for a sustainable development. That is according to one of the targets of SDG number 16. According to the Sunrise newspaper on the 11th of August 2016, LGBT activists, when I talk about LGBT, I mean lesbians, gays, bisexual, and transgender activists were sexually assaulted, and they were locked up by the police, who claimed that they were celebrating a gay marriage, which is illegal in Uganda. But lawyers such as Nicholas Opio and Frank Mugisha reported that effective action must be taken on the police. And truth be told, citizen activism worked in Uganda simply because the government ordered for investigations and effective action was taken on the police. Furthermore, citizen activism has ensured public access to information and protection of fundamental freedoms. That is also another goal, just in case you're listening. So can you imagine the whole nation coming to a standstill simply because civil workers have gone on strike? Shock on you. According to Guardian.com, this happened in Ghana this month, this year. And all this was because of inflation and interest rates. Now, the aftermath after the national protest, the president has made extensive assurances that immediate action will be taken on the economic status. All I'm saying is activism is something you cannot fake. You get angry, you cry sometimes, but you never throw in your towel because that anger in you is what is propelling you for further action. Thank you.
Light Academy, you have 3 minutes to make your opening statements.
Railway constructors got to the foot of a mountain and boom, caution hit them. But they were on a standoff. They couldn't decide whether to go through the mountain or around it. Those that were in a hurry decided, without the agreement of the rest, to go through it. And in the middle, the tunnel dropped on their heads. My name is Kalimbo Brian from Light Academy Mombasa, and I stand before you to strongly oppose the motion that says citizen activism is an effective way of influencing change in African governments. The act of a person who legally belongs to a country using vigorous campaigning to bring about political or social change is an effective way in that it produces the desired result of influencing change in African systems by which a nation is controlled. With activism, we're going to have a lot of property destruction and loss of lives. I mean, really, is that what you are intended for? Once people take to the streets, they risk not only other people's lives, but also their very own. And property destruction also follows like a shark to the scent of blood. On October 2016, protesters in Addis Ababa destroyed dozens of factories and flower farms and damaged scores of vehicles just because the government had intentions of expanding the territory of the city towards the people's land. Now, 55 people had lost their lives after attempts to disperse the demonstrators. People demanded change, but they had to use excessive force because apparently the government understands no other language. By the end of all these protests, at least 500 people had lost their lives. We had children, mothers, fathers, all productive people of this nation. Now, was that the intention of all these activists? With activism, people, knowing or not knowing, are able to deliver a huge blow to the economy of a country. They are able to wound the economy and leave a scar that may never disappear. On October 2015, the Fees Must Fall protest in South Africa came about through the rejection of the proposed increase in university fees. The protest saw responses from 14 universities within the country. And these student protests rattled investors. And within just 1 week alone, we had the rand slipping 4.3% against the dollar. Upon closer inspection, the dollar had gained significant dominance over the rand. The protests, and without economic growth, the revenue of a country cannot increase, and therefore, expenditure cannot increase. The country's GDP growth rate fell from 1.5% in 2015 to an estimated 0.4% in 2016. Clearly, they need to get another solution apart from citizen activism, or else the future of South Africa is going to be a dark one. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mbooni girls, you have 3 minutes for your cross-examination.
Faith Mbulwanzau, an activist from Mbooni Girls, here to strongly propose the motion that states citizen activism is an effective way of influencing change in African governments. Now, I would like to ask my first opponent, who said that citizen activism is only by going to the streets and destroying property, because we can also use other methods like social media. And if I may ask, if I use Facebook to protest, how am I affecting the economy? I would also like you to give us evidence on the story of Addis Ababa. I did not learn to be quiet when I had an opinion. They only know they knew who I was is because I told them. Moroccans are a good example where they have inculcated some change in their corrupt government system. Early this month, according to the People's Magazine, they went to the street to fight against the inhuman act of their police officers, where they crushed a street vendor alongside his fish in a garbage truck. Yes, a garbage truck, because he refused to give them a bribe. Now tell me, how does isn't this bribery? What I'm trying to say is that activism, citizen activism, has led to the substantial reduce in corruption and bribery, because after these citizens went to the streets and they protested, the government took action and they reprimanded the police officers that were involved. Yesterday in our school, we had the privilege to receive her Honorable Lady Justice Nzoki Nzongo. And she told us a very inspirational quote that says,
Your legacy lies within the lives you've touched. Stella Nyanzi is an exceptional example, a leading activist in Uganda. She is an inspiration to many women all over the country because she fought for the poor girls in Uganda. During the 2016 election, Yoweri Museveni and his wife, Mama Janet, promised to supply free sanitary towels to young girls all over Uganda. But after they won their elections, they did not live up to the end of their bargain. After Stella Nyanzi, protested against them, they finally yielded and they supply free sanitary towels to girls all over Uganda. And as if not enough, a good epitome where citizen activism has led to the development of effective, accountable institutions at a political level is in Kenya. In June 1982, Kenya was stated as a single party. But after in 1991, Ford Kenya was arrested because of due to a prior pro-democracy rally. They were led to the international community to fight against the government. And this led to Arap Moi to agreeing to reforming the party system. All this is not to say that citizen activism is of no consequence. If protest will provide a platform where for progressive change, then so be it. I am the force. Thank you.
Gentlemen of Light Academy, let's hear your cross-examination. You also have 3 minutes.
Getting on with the introductions, my name is Anthony Tandwa from Light Academy, here to oppose the motion. Ohaga, what a lovely song. But it seems like you've not been a Kenyan citizen. Now, in 2008, we had the post-election violence. Now, do you want to tell me, because you just said that you cannot fake activism, your own words, people get angry. True, this is what happened. People went to the streets, they protested. People got hurt. According to the Wikipedia, at least 800 people have been killed. More than 600,000 have been displaced. Now, are you trying to tell us that you agree with this? Judges, you saw this, you were there. You saw the effects of citizen activism. They went out, they protested. Did it help? Was it effective? She talks of the Mau Mau fighters. Yes, they fought. But some of those other people died due to their fighting. The Mau Mau actually hurt some of our own Kenyan citizens. They hurt them. Now, Faith. So be it, as you say, you do not care. It clearly says that she does not care about what happens, the effect of the citizens. What happens to the citizens when they go out there and protest? I went out, I was walking by the street, and I actually had a protest. Then we come back and see that due to someone else's protesting, I'm actually arrested, but I did not participate. It actually affects me. I was not part of the team, but I'm affected. And she says, so be it. Her quote. It is effective. Yes, it touches people. But what about the people who have been hurt? The people who have lost their parents, relatives? Now, on to more important things. Activism has a history of bringing about catastrophic outcomes. Let's go to Burundi. In Burundi, we have had unrest since 2015. Why? President Pierre Nkurunziza announced that he would be vying for a third term in parliament. As was expected, citizens went out and protested. It started as a peaceful campaign. Please do not go back, new people. But some people got angry, as she said. It happened that after these protests, the people got impatient. Violence struck. According to Kara Jones' research, more than 800 people in Burundi, have actually lost their lives. More than 400,000 people have had to flee their own country. Why? Insecurity. Other citizens in the country want to flee, but they cannot muster the courage of leaving their own homes. Why? They're insecure. In Burundi as well, people have been killed, as I said. A young boy of possibly 6 years old selling eggs was killed. How? A grenade attack. A grenade attack is taking lives. Grenades frequent the air on a daily. 80% of Burundi is now, the businesses in Burundi have now shut down. More than 75 of Burundians are living under $2 a day. More than 75 people. It's bringing about poverty. And how can you tell us that this is effective? I cannot agree with this. You're wrong. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The proposition have been asked, is there a way that citizen activism can be done without causing controversy and in some extreme cases violence? And the opposition have been asked for alternatives to citizen activism as a way of moving Africa forward. We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
If you call me Masika Vata Musyoki, be sure to get a response. And I'm here to firmly propose the motion that states, citizen activism is an effective way of influencing change in African governments. My fellow proposer here just said that citizen activism is not all about protesting on the streets. And we are saying it is effective, meaning that there are also other ways, like dialogue that worked in 2008. We're not saying that citizen activism is the only way, but it is an effective way. One, in as much as the Mau Mau fighters got hurt, in as much as these people died, the white man went away. We are all happy. We are enjoying ourselves in an independent state. Or Judge Major, aren't you happy that we have a black president? Are you not happy that we have a black president, our own African governments? Or maybe they are happy to have the white people ruling us. Citizen activists are able to influence change in the government in many ways. For example, according to Forbes.com, there is a forest in Uganda called Mabira Forest, and the Ugandan government wanted to use this forest for commercial gain. But the activists stood up and said, no, 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 and no. They protested against it. And what happened? These people ended up fighting for that forest, and right now the forest is still very much viable. It is in use for the Ugandan citizens. If they had not stood up for what they believed in, will that forest still be there? A good example, again, is right here in Kenya. We have the late Wangari Maathai. In the early 1990s, she stood up when the former president, Arap Moi, wanted to use the Uhuru Park to build the Kenya African National Union headquarters. And she said no. She stood up with over 100 women and they stripped naked. I say naked. That was the passion they had for Uhuru Park. That was the passion they had for Uhuru Park. So they stripped naked and went there. The Moi police force came, they bet them up. Others died. But what do we have? We still have Uhuru Park. It is still there. It is a recreational facility. Furthermore, if you're here in Nairobi and you want to go to enjoy yourself, where will you go if not to Uhuru Park? Where? Again, according to Al Jazeera, Dr. Odumakin of Nigeria was an activist, and she was against extrajudicial killing of women by police and their spouses. And during the reign of President Ibrahim Babangida, she went to jail severally. She was detained. She was beaten up. But by the end of it all, what happened? The Nigerian government passed rules governing women. In those countries, the women are no longer discriminated against by their husbands and the police. They are no longer beaten up. Now, if Dr. Odumakina just folded her hands and watched, will that country still be will it be still beating up the women? Will they still be beaten up the way they were beaten up? It is time we understand that citizen activism is the most effective way of influencing change in the resistant African governments. Thank you.
Light Academy, let's hear your response to the audience. You have 3 minutes.
Myths, lies, and fiction, all but fiction. That by speaking out the loudest, your voice is heard more. What a fantasy. Well, I'm glad that you know now. To the question posed to me, if we convince you that citizen activism is not the most effective way, then what is? She made my work easy. She talked of Kofi Annan, diplomacy, pollsters. Look at what Ipsos Synovate is doing. Collecting public opinions to try and bring change. We have op-eds, opposite editorials. Talk to Mutahi Nguni, he's a very good one. Trust me. this guy is good. Opposite editorials. Another thing, we have petitions, letter writing, and direct lobbying. All this, I believe, can be used instead of citizen activism. I am Gilbert Rumba, here to oppose the motion that states citizen activism is an effective way of influencing change in African governments. 1, citizen activism creates fear, it creates strife. Think of rioting people. Think of people going to the streets. Hundreds of them being arrested, others brutally assaulted by the police, others just disappearing. Where to? No one knows. This is meant to create fear to the members of the public. And by creating fear, how am I supposed to express my opinion? This fear is created by the same people who are supposed to protect us. All this caused by citizen activism. We carry our banners to the streets, protesting, and yet what happens to us? Fear. We feel the lack of sense of security. Now, what good is that? What good is in that? Look at Ethiopia. On the 9th of October 2016, over 500 people died, over 100 people injured, and others even afraid to come out of their houses. Ethiopia declared a state of emergency. Reason being, anti-government protests by the Oromo people not to expand the Addis Ababa city by the Ethiopian government. The people of Ethiopia have a lack of sense of security. All this being by the protests of the Oromo people, which saw scores of people dead. It saw many injured and many other displaced. Look at the fear that is created in them by the state of emergency. Look at the hotels that have been closed. Look at the schools that have been closed. Look at the students who are supposed to be going to school. All this fear created by citizen activism. Citizen activism also, it leads to violating of rights by the government. Look at my right to privacy. The government of Ethiopia has decided to cut down mobile internet, has decided to cut down access to social media. All this because of the consequences of rioting people. Look at this. What good is there in citizen activism? Thank you.
Final statements now. Ladies, you have 1 minute.
The major goal of this motion is to promote peace, to promote equality, and to promote justice. That is what the target of our motion is. Now, if you say that we are not at peace, well, when you say we are at peace, that is, you mean that the Africans are happy with what is going on. Africans can never be happy if they are never at peace if they are not happy with whatever is going on. You're talking about fantasies. Fantasies are ngapi. All of us, we are able to see the independence. We are able to see our government. We choose it ourselves. It's not chosen by colonialists. So it's not a matter of fantasy. It is a matter of truth that is seen and is visible by everyone. Rosa Parks once said that you should never be afraid of doing whatever you're doing if you know it is right. We should advocate for peace. We should advocate for justice and equality, even if it means going to the streets, even if it means dying. And furthermore, it seems like Light Academy did not understand. We are not saying citizen activism is the only. We are saying it is an effective. Mbooni Girls is our name. Debating is our game. Thank you.
Light Academy, you have 1 minute for your final statement.
It's good that you understand there is not one way of influencing change in African governments. It's very good that you understand. Now, let me enlighten you. Why do you go to the streets and yet you are the one who chose the leaders that lead you? This started with you. You making the wrong choices. Judge Booker, trust me, if you had elected the right people, you will not go rioting in the streets. It starts with you. It's a state of mind, making the right choices. All this is linked to you. You don't have to go to the street protest. You don't have to do all this stuff and hurt many other people. It begins with you. And quoting Albert Einstein, madness is defined as doing the same thing over and over again and yet expecting a different result. Now, each year we've experienced riots and yet we expect change. Look at us. This is totally 100% backwardness. Backwardness in Africa. I have a dream of changing Africa and not by activism. Thank you very much.
To Mbooni Girls and Light Academy, I just have to admit this was a very good debate. Mbooni Girls, I think there is no stopping you. I think you came to win and victory is on your side. Contest, passion, and topic well mastered. Light Academy, the difference in this debate will lie on use of examples. I think you're also very good debaters, very passionate. You replaced the third speaker from Light Academy very well. But I think the problem was in the use of examples. At one point I said you have very limited example. They had very good examples and they represented the continent. It was a good debate. Thank you.
Light Academy, the judges awarded you 70%. Kindly give them a round of applause. Ladies, Mbooni Girls, the judges awarded you 80%, making you the winners of this debate.
Congratulations to the two teams on stage. We'd also like to give an extra congratulations to Mbooni Girls for such a high score and remind you that the race is still on to the finals and semi-finals. And I have been your host, Austin Nyumbok.
I am Mariam Bishar. We'll see you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.